Good evening and welcome to the Newman City Council regular meeting, May 14th, 2024. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain stand for the invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight is sort of a humbling night. We know that the city of Newman were sent here to do the business for the community. And although I know that we are basically in very solid shape, because we have good management here in the city. But I said that to say this is that we're living in some very difficult times all across the nation and actually around the world. And as a Christian, I pray for each and every one of you that steps in this chamber every morning and every evening, that my Father in heaven would just keep his cupboard over each and every one of our families and give us the sound minds to come and take care of business for the city of Newman. Amen.
Amen. Roll call.
Councilmember McDonald?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Ball?
Here.
Councilmember Tomlinson?
Here.
Councilmember Pimentel? Mayor Graham?
Here. 4-1 absent. Any declarations of conflicts of interest tonight?
None.
Non-matters, none. Items from the public, non-agenda items. Anybody wishing to speak from the public, please make your way up to the podium. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, Council Members, City Staff Committee. Thank you, Gavin Klein from Congressman Duarte's office. It's an honor to be here with you all tonight. Just want to give you all a quick update on a pretty important bill that Congressman Duarte voted on in favor of. Congressman Duarte is proud to vote yes on House Resolution 7525. This is a Special Districts Grant Accessibility Act. California's 13th congressional district from Lathrop, San Joaquin County, all the way to Fresno County. We have 96 special districts within our congressional district. So this is a really important bill throughout the valleys. And what this bill does is it clarifies how an agency recognizes a special district as a unit of local government for the purpose of being eligible to receive federal financial assistance. And the agency requirements are no later than 1 year of the date on which the guidance is issued. The head of the agency shall implement the requirements of guidance and conform any policy, principle, practice, or procedure or guidelines relating to the administration of federal finance assistance programs of the agency. And the reporting requirements are no later than 2 years after the date of this enactment. Of the enactment of this act, the director shall submit to the Committee on Oversight and Accountability through the House of Representatives and the Committee on Homeland Security and Government Affairs. And Congressman Duarte is continuing to advocate for the city of Newman, the 13th congressional district in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. And that's the end of my report, and thank you all for your time.
We appreciate your guys' support. Thank you. Technical error. Well, you can log on to this one.
Yeah, but there's only,
Wouldn't have the name if you're logging in with your name here.
Yeah, you can log into this one.
yeah, he can, but he can't. It's fine. We can use it. The microphone will say the wrong name, but that's fine. If he wants to sit there, we can do it that way.
Down here, Leroy?
Otherwise, we won't be able to do digital voting unless without reboot the whole thing. We don't want to do that in the middle of the meeting.
You want to move down here, sir? All right, item number 8, consent calendar. A, waive all readings of ordinance and resolution except by title. B, approval of warrants. C, approval of minutes of the April 23rd, 2024 meeting.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I move to approve.
I'll second.
We have first and second. Go and vote electronically. Motion carries with 4 with 1 absent. Item number 9, public hearings. There are none tonight. Item number 10, regular business. A, report on Newman Fall Festival. Sergeant, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. Before you tonight is the staff report for the 2024 Fall Festival. Again, it's coming to you a little bit earlier than normal due to the fact that we got to get the registrations going for the Tunnel to Towers run. If you notice, everything in there is pretty much the same as normal. There's a couple changes for the run. The start and stop location will be the plaza, so there will be a hard closure of the 1300 block of Main Street through the duration of the run. And then it'll reopen. Everything else will continue to be the rolling soft closures. Alcohol sales will stop at 9 o'clock every Saturday and Sunday, and the park will close at 10. They started this last year. It was a last-minute decision by the committee. It did work. It was fewer incidents of liquid courage-induced extracurricular activity. So they're going to go with that again this year. It worked well last year. And the only other change is that they plan to use Gustine reserves to supplement our presence as opposed to hiring security. Security will still be overnight, but to be out there with us in the park, it'll be Gustine is the plan right now. Other than that, everything else remains the same, and I'm happy to take any questions if there's any.
Do we have to pay for Augustine's services when we do that?
Right now, we're trying to figure out what it is exactly that they're going to charge for that, and then go from there. There's a possibility too, I know that they were going to go through a firearms course with us, and we might just do a clean exchange across the board.
Oh, okay.
So we're still working out those details, but right now, that's what they're exploring.
Okay. Thank you.
And it would be Fall Festival picking up the tab for, it wouldn't be the city of Newman picking up the.
Right, it's
Gustine.
fall, yeah.
It would be the Fall Festival Committee picking up the tab for the Gustine officers if they choose to use them.
Yeah.
I'll bring it back to council for action.
I'll move to accept the report on Newman Fall Festival 24.
And I'll second that.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sergeant. Motion carries 4 with 1 absent. Item B, adopt resolution 2024, next number, a resolution approving the annual report for the Lighting and Landscape Maintenance District for the fiscal year 24-25.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the Newman City Council. If you've been following along with our story, in our last episode, in our last City Council meeting, we received the order to have the engineer's annual report for the Lighting and Landscape District produced. The report is before you tonight. This resolution basically approves the report and does nothing else beyond that. The report is recommending a 2.366% increase in the levy amounts. The actual dollar amount to be levied varies based on the number of homes in each of the zones and how many amenities are in each of the zones. The amount increase will range anywhere from 87 cents per year to $8.18 per year increase, which is pretty insignificant. It's less than $1 a month at the highest level. So this resolution simply approves the report and does nothing more than that. It does not automatically increase the levies. That gets taken care of later. Be happy to answer any questions you have on it.
Any questions? I'll open up the public, but there's nobody in the public here tonight, so I'll bring it back to council for action.
I move we adopt resolution number 2024, a resolution approving the annual report for the Lighting and Landscape Maintenance District for fiscal year 24-25.
And I'll second that.
We have a first and second, going to go electronically. Motion carries 4 with 1 absent. And here comes the second part of this, adopt resolution 2024, next number, a resolution of the city council of the city of Newman, California, declaring the intention to levy and collect assessments for the Lighting and Landscape Maintenance District for the fiscal year 24-25.
Okay, the next part of our story. Now that we've approved the report, we have to notify the public that we're going to be holding a public hearing. We have that public hearing scheduled for June 11th, and we're also going to, with this resolution, we receive authorization to publish a notice out to the public, letting them know of that date. We'll be publishing this report or the notification twice before the meeting so that the public will have ample time to prepare to be here if they wish.
Okay.
Happy to answer any questions you have.
I'll go ahead and bring that back to council for questions or action.
And where will you be publishing this at?
The local newspaper. And then all the standard, what we publish over the agendas downstairs. And
Bring it back to council for action.
I move we adopt number 2024 resolution of the City Council of the City of Newman declaring its intention to levy and collect assessments for lighting and landscape maintenance district for 24-25.
I'll second that.
First, second, go. Motion carries 4 with 1 absent.
okay, thank you.
Thank you, Lou. Item number 11, items from District 5, Stanislaus County Supervisor. He's not here today. Item number 12, items from the city manager and staff. Michael?
Thank you, Mayor. We're going to go ahead and, as we talked at our last meeting, I was going to give you guys an update, and it's probably why we have a huge crowd tonight. We heard that we were going to do an update on the news project and kind of bring everyone up to date on where we're at with that. So, Mike, want to go ahead and so again, just a reminder of where we're at. The green area there is the news project, and we're at Canal School, Inyo, and on the south side, that's Brazo Road there, and then we have a little 20-acre piece here that's also part of it, and we'll show that to you. The reason we ultimately selected this location is that the Miller Ditch, all of our stormwater comes to this corner right here, which is in the northwest corner of the subject site. That's the corner of Inyo and Canal School. All of our stormwater goes to that location, so it made a lot of sense for us to pick this location. This is why we purchased the property back in 2013. So these are all 4 of our projects together. Under construction right now, we have the news project. So what you have is you have a trash, this is like more of a parking lot area up here, this light brown area. This oval shape here, which is the body of the butterfly, if you see that. That's a sediment ponding area. So all the water comes through this area here. It will flow over a berm into these 2 pond areas here, which has the word news over it. The water will filtrate through some plantings, some natural habitat, some flowers and other such things. And then it will flow back into, this is a micro pool here, and there'll be some water here year round. And that's kind of the clarifier, if you will. And then ultimately water discharges back into the Miller Ditch. And that's how the news project works. The other project we have going on right now is the project in the middle that's defined by wetland project. We will receive water here during the winter time. Water will come from the Miller Ditch and will flow into the wetland project. And there'll be large planting of native habitat, trees and grasses here to reestablish a natural wetland that was originally at the site. And then it flows over here to this 20-acre site, and you can see these little amoeba-shaped objects. Those are natural wetlands that were already out there. So the water will then go into those particular area again and continue to feed the natural wetlands. And those wetlands will really occur during the winter and springtime. And then, as you know, in our summers, guess what happens? It all dries up because it's super hot around here. So the third project, the one that's under design right now, it's a $4 million project. We have a $2 million grant. We're at 30% design. We'll show a little bit more of that later. It's the nature park, and the AMD is the Miller Ditch Treatment Wetlands. Again, this is this kind of pinkish area over here, rose color area, is where UC Merced will have an outdoor laboratory for their environmental engineering department. So there's 4 projects here. They each have their own little name, but overall, the complete project, when you look at the whole thing, is called the Newman Community Conservation Area, for which we have a master plan and we have done CEQA and NEPA documents for. As we look into the details of the news project, again, there's a stormwater lift station. All stormwater in the city comes to this particular location, and either that or through Miller Ditch. It will then come into this diversion structure and it will flow into the sediment forebay here. The sediment forebay, as you can imagine, is there to have all the sediment fall out, and the water will keep going. The water will then come down south. As you can see, the arrows flow there, and it'll flow over some berms or through some. There's a spillway right there. There's a berm, and then there's also some tunnels, culverts, if you will, that lead into this high marsh and low marsh system. That's where the water will be filtered. Again, as I talked about, using a biofilter, if you will, or plantings, and then ultimately go into the micropool and then to the spillway. This project is currently under construction. We'll see some of those construction pictures later. This is a $8.5 million project for which we got $7.5 million in grant funds. It's costing us just under $1 million for this particular project. The big thing about this is the state had what's called MS4 Phase 2 requirements, which required cities to bring in filters to clean out all the trash and hydrocarbons out of their stormwater before it discharges into their storm system, which can be very expensive, and the O&M costs can be pretty great on some of those things, depending on what technology that you had. We're allowed to do this in one particular place. This project has gotten a lot of support at the state level because we're the only city in the valley that's even attempting to do something like this. So it's a pretty big project. Down here along Miller Road, you'll see something called an access bridge. So we'll have that's so that maintenance vehicles can come in here and come up into this area up here into the north side of the small little staging area so they can, again, do maintenance on this structure. It's going to take a lot of work to keep this up. There are berms throughout this project site here. And then to the bottom there, you can see a little vista point on there as well. Moving on to our next project, again, this is just the wetlands. As you can see, there's some marsh reestablishments, seasonal wetlands, and there's some wetland enhancements. Again, the water will come in from the Miller Ditch and then flow through this channel, and then ultimately it comes over to this other piece of property. Some will then come back into the Miller Ditch, which is going north. Some of it will also come down to the vernal pool restoration, which is to the south side of that. Again, we're talking doing this fall, the riparian plantings go in. Again, native grasses and trees will go into the green area there. This, again, just kind of shows the four projects, but the reason I have it on here today is I want to show you generally what we're talking about when we have the Newman Nature Park. Starting on the south side off of Brazil Road, as you can see the P there, that's a parking lot area. Then you're going to have some outdoor classroom type setting. So if a school district or somebody shows up and wants to talk a little bit, they can do some outdoor classroom there. If you want to have some events out there, there'll be a little staging area. And we're going to have a butterfly garden. There'll be a garden out there with plantings that are naturally attract butterflies. So they'll have a specialized plantings out there. There's also a playground area. We'll have a restroom out there. This one is showing 2 trails. There's actually going to be 3 trails. The first one would be 1/8 of a mile. Second one would be 1/4 of a mile. So if someone wants to go and do, just get out in nature and do a mile, they can go around it 4 times and know how much they've done. Around that one, there will be 5 exercise stations along there that people can stop and do exercises along that. I believe both of those are going to be ADA accessible. And then we have a larger trail, and that's the one coming up to the north. You see some of it's dotted up there. Along there, again, there's some observation areas that are going to be out there, a bench. And then ultimately, if you follow it around, and it's kind of going west there'll be a bridge over the wetlands area, and then that'll tie it into the new system. And there's berms up there, and so the trail system links those 2 projects together. So there'll be a lot of area. You could probably, I think they did the math, and you're going to be able to go about 1.5 miles or more in one particular direction. So And then lastly, the bottom piece here, it says Miller Ditch Treatment Wetland, that's UC Merced. Very conceptual drawing here. Again, you can see the water will flow in from the bottom, which from the south, and then just kind of goes through a wetland system, through a vegetative system. Again, a biofilter is what we like to call it. And then it'll come all the way out. And then the idea is the vegetation will clean up the hydrocarbons. It will clean up some of the ag pollution or residue that may be left in the ag water. And then ultimately, when it comes out the end, it'll be clean water, and it can either flow back into the Miller Ditch or come into the channel, which we call the Wetlands Restoration Project there. So here on this first picture, what you're looking at is the, so we're looking south. So we're up looking at like the sedimentation basin. So the water will come in this general area right here. You can see this is all concrete. That'll help the sediment slow there. You have the culvert there. You have remember the berm I was telling you about there, and there's another culvert down there. And then on the other side of that berm is that high-low marsh that we talked about. This is just another picture. As you can see, it's quite a large area here of what we're talking about. Again, stormwater comes in. A lot of the sediment settles out in this particular area. The water keeps flowing. Will either go down through the culverts or over top this berm here, depending on how much water it is and how big the storm event is. Going the wrong way. Again, this is the same little basin here, but it just shows you how much water can come through that sediment basin there. And then, okay, this is that little berm. So the sediment pond is on the top side there. You can see the mountains in the background, so that would be the west side. This is the lower marsh, upper marsh system here. The water will flow into here. Again, it will go through a vegetative biofilter, get the water cleaned up as it heads northward back out to the Miller Ditch. And again, this is the entire size of the low marsh and the upper marsh. So it's quite a big project. I think it's magnitude of order, it's about 18 acres. Pretty significant in size out there. So you can see they've done a lot of excavation. The ponds are now to the depth that they need to be, and you can see, if you look off towards the trees over there, you can see there's quite a big berm up on these sides here, so it will hold a lot of water. The current schedule has them probably completing this late summer. So we could be looking at maybe cutting a ribbon in the fall of this coming year here. And this should be ready and operational for this coming winter. So when we start getting rainfall coming through, it should be coming through and cleaning up through this system here. So that was an update on the news project. We actually have a member from a staff member from the State Water Resource Board coming down tomorrow to look at the project. She's our project manager. She's the one managing the grant. She'll be here at 12:30. We're all going to meet here at City Hall, and then we'll go out to the site and do a site tour and answer any questions that she may have. They want to see where their millions of dollars are going. But in our conversations with her, this was one of those propositions, water resource propositions that went through. We're one of the cities that is developing the project now. A lot of them have been delayed and not under construction, so we're ahead of most other recipients of that grant funding. So that's all I had for that particular project.
Is there anywhere specific the funding for the other 2 million needs to come from for the, you said we need 4 million, we have 2.
That's Nature Park.
Right. Is there anywhere specific that much?
So we found another grant where I think we're going to be applying for this month. I think it comes up in June. And then we're going to try to hit up Stanislaus County to see if they can fund some. The challenge on that particular grant is the match. That's the 2 million we got to get in. Sometimes you can't use grant funding as a match for another grant. So we just have to be very careful on where we get our funds.
Right.
to make it work on there, so.
I have a couple questions. One is that Kathy, we spoke with, when Kathy was with us, we spoke about lighting, and she said that's something that we're going to basically look at later on. Is that sort of filtered back into the project itself in terms of lighting?
Lighting, that'll be part of the nature park, not necessarily part of news. We want to be real careful because we don't want to encourage people to be out there at night, but we also want it to be safe. So there's some solar lighting options that we're going to be looking at that don't provide a super lot of lighting because, again, we don't want to encourage youth and people to be out there late at night doing destructive activities. Yeah, we could probably sneak up on them on our motorcycles because they can't hear them coming. But yeah, we'll have to look at the pros and cons and work with public safety on what's going to be appropriate there.
And then I noticed, when you're doing this illustration here, is that there was only one restroom area. This is a very large project, and that means if for instance, like on a holiday or something, this park is filled up, and we just have one location for a restroom, then we're going to have some difficult problems.
I think one, it's down by the parking lot. It's where people are coming in and out. It's probably the most appropriate place for it. If you we even had the conversation of whether we put a restroom out there or not, because people just vandalize stuff these days. It's just so hard to even get to be able to keep something open. We believe based upon there'll be people, getting some physical activity out there. And then maybe a few events. If we have a large event out there, we could bring in porta potties or one of those kind of things. But I think for the regular amount of activity we'll get on a typical day, I think one's going to be sufficient.
And once the project is complete, Michael, will the city maintain it?
Yes, we're going to have to maintain all of these. They will be our facilities. One of the things that we're working on right now as new residential projects come into the city, they're going to have to pay as part of their CFD a maintenance fee that helps offset this particular cost. So yeah, we're going to probably have to have at least one, maybe two full-time people probably dedicated to this particular project.
And one other thing is that I know even during the time that Ally is having her movie nights at the park, there's been complaints in terms of mosquitoes. Now, water is going to be in this area. So therefore, are we going to have a system that's set up for, I know that people spray here, once or twice a year?
Yeah, they spray multiple times a year. Yeah, so when they pick and chose which plants they use, they were supposed to take that into account. When we have that little standing water out there, there'll probably be mosquito fish inside of it to help keep that minimized. So yeah, we'll work with mosquito abatement to make sure that we don't create a health hazard.
One last question I have for you, and this is something that, back to Kathy, is that I think I brought it up one time to her in terms of testing the water here in the city of Newman. Are we still on schedule in terms of someone, until we get someone in place that go out and do the testing on the water?
Or the drinking water?
Yes.
Oh yeah. That has nothing to do with Ms. Reyes. That's something you have to do as a city. Our staff is trained to do that. Ms. Reyes did not do that. We have other staff, Mr. Milan and his staff in the water department are all verified or certified to do the testing. And then we take it off to labs and we get certification on all that. There's daily and weekly testings that all have to occur during that time.
The only reason why I bring that up is because we in the past, we've had concerns from residents in terms of talking about, whether the water is safe or not. And I think at one time, Kathy was talking about how people were complaining, about the smell of the water.
Yeah, our water is perfectly safe. Sometimes the smell just comes from the old pipes or something like that. But Our system is good. Like I said, we just put in a new well 2 years ago, so good water, good pressure. And then, okay, Mayor, any more questions on this one? Okay, and just for me, just two things. We're moving forward with that housing element, which is, I don't know, guys. The state is not very city friendly with respect to this stuff, and we'll have to discuss that at a later date when it's time to get all that through. But some of the direction they're making us go is not conducive to what we're trying to do as a local city. So we'll have to talk about that when that project comes forward. And then lastly, we do have Planning Commission this coming Thursday. We have a recycling center that's looking to start operating in the industrial business park area. And then we have a phase 2 for Manos Ranch, a 42 lot subdivision. So I can answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Michael. Ally, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. A little bit to report back on the recreation side. We have adult basketball happening every Friday and Sunday from 6 to 9 p.m. at YOLO Gym, open gym. So if anybody's interested, 18 and older, to go out there and practice, play, shoot some hoops, come on down. We have continuous Kaju Kimbo signups all year long, 6 months for $20. Can't beat that anywhere. So if you have any kids or adults that want to participate, everybody's welcome to come and sign up at the teen center. We currently have registrations for Fit Kids and soccer. Open soccer ends June 28th, and girls basketball ends tomorrow. If you know any girls that are interested in the sport, send them down to our teen center to sign up. Now, in front of you, I did pass out earlier some sponsorships. We are looking for sponsorships for our movie nights. Movie nights are a big part of our community. They occur 3 times during our summertime, one in the month of June, July, and August. If you or anybody in the community wants to be a sponsor for this event, they can contact me. You can give them one of these letters. Find me here at City Hall or at the Teen Center. It's just a great activity for all of our community during these summer times where it's nice and hot. We get out there and enjoy a free movie. With that, I can answer any questions that y'all may have.
Thank you, Ally.
Thank you.
We appreciate your work. Chief?
Evening, Mayor, council members. You just saw the news project that's going in there. We were challenged with finding a way to patrol that area, so we decided we didn't want to take our cars in there and contaminants, because that's what the whole thing is about, is removing the contaminants. So we looked for a grant. Sergeant Williams wrote a grant for 2 electric motorcycles. It was a successful grant, and last week we took possession of those motorcycles. So they are actually downstairs tonight. After the meeting, you guys can take a look at them. We do have to buy a little more equipment for them, but the bikes were paid for through the grant, so we're pretty happy with that. And it will give us a nice way to patrol that area without leaving a carbon footprint or anything on it. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Outstanding anagram for that, and I believe his county supervisor helped work with
They did.
that.
They pushed it along a little bit, so
Thanks to them for their help.
very much so.
Thank you.
Don't have anything else to report tonight.
Chief Bowen?
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Not too much. Just want to remind everyone as it starts getting warmer out to just be safe out there. Be conscious when using barbecues and those kind of things. It doesn't take much for a fire to start. And if you're going to be out in the water, wear a life jacket or life vest. And I can answer any questions you guys might have. Thank you.
Rotem?
Nothing tonight.
Nothing.
Yeah, we had a drowning out one of the rivers here just earlier this week. So if anybody as it gets warmer, if you get near the waterways, use extra caution because it's the river. It looks like it's moving slow on the top, but it's fast underneath and it'll sweep you away in no time. So
Two kids drowned.
no, one adult. With that, I ask for adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
A second.